Peace. See if I can get my image crisp here. See if I can. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Can y'all hear me? 1, 2. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Trying to make sure I get my camera adjusted. If you can hear me, can you give me a 1? Okay, thank you, Pandora. Peace, Pandora. Peace, Wars Witch. Peace, Sage. Peace, Money Shack, Monisha. I said Money Shack. You must be getting to the money. Monisha, my bad. Peace, peace. Hope all is well with everybody as Capricorn season continues. Shout out to the horns. All right. Before I get going, let's see how many people in here. It's not showing me. See how many people we got. And because I have an announcement to make. I got a couple of things, announcements. I can't even tell how many. Oh, there we go. Okay. Trying to see if we get a couple more people in before we get rolling. But, oh, there you go. My bad. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sword. She said 12. Okay. Yeah, I see it now. Right here in front of me. Like the old folk used to say when we were coming up, it was a snake, it would have bit you. Um, but okay. So from time to time, people reach out and ask things like, do you do mentorship? Which I don't really. Um, and do I do classes? And I always try to be careful not to be premature about things. So I always told people, okay, I'll get back with you when I got, you know, things lined up. And I've been working on some things. Am I still alive? Okay. I've been working on some things. I want to share something with you all. Um, on February 22nd, I will be holding a class, and the class is Intro to Medical Astrology. I want you to bear with me here so I can explain the significance of this. Let me see if I can share you go to my website, 720astrology.com, and you will be able to access, let's see, let me get this thing queued up. And you'll be able to access this and sign up. You should be able to see it here. Introduction to Medical Astrology. Go to my site. This will pop up as soon as you get on the site. It's Sunday, February 22nd. Starts at 10 a.m. Central Time. Now, this is my first time doing this particular type of class, so it is scheduled for 4 hours. I don't know if it might end up going over, but either way, that is the scheduled time. But we are going to stop. We're going to start at 10 a.m. promptly, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can adjust for your time zone. But I want to show you a glimpse of when you sign up for this class, what you're going to get. But first, let me explain the significance. You might be thinking, I've never even been interested in learning medical astrology. But here's the deal. If you're interested in learning astrology, one of the best ways to learn astrology is through medical astrology. Thank you, Swords Witch. Yeah, y'all hit that like for me. Um, because medical astrology will give you a through way using something that we all are familiar with, our bodies. You know, everybody got a stomach, everybody's got a heart, everybody's got kidneys, at least, generally we have those things if we're fully functional. We got a liver, you know, um, we have reproductive organs. And when you figure out the planets that are associated with them, you figure out the signs that rule these different parts, and you figure out the nature of the planetary expression, the energetic field that the signs represent, and then you apply it to something you already know and you've utilized. Everybody knows what it feels like to have an upset stomach. Everybody knows what it feels like to have, you know, um, some type of intestinal inflammation to where you like, oh man, you got diarrhea or you're throwing up or you have food poisoning. Well, that gives you insight to understanding Mercury because Mercury rules the intestines. And the intestines have to go through and absorb, all the nutrients and then so they can be absorbed into the bloodstream. You know, the intestines are sifting through and determining, well, what needs to go on to be evacuated from the body. And think about Mercury, the ruler of Virgo. Think about Virgos, who are analytical, who are analyzing every little thing. And you're like, oh, I understand why they act this way because I have something in my body that expresses that archetype. And if I didn't have that thing in my body, I'd be messed up. If I didn't have my intestines sifting through everything, if I didn't have my meninges that are protecting my brain, if I didn't have my um, pericardium that is protecting my heart, if I didn't have my endocardium, which is protecting the valves in the heart, think about cancer. Think about cancer and the mother archetype, the protector, the womb. So when you learn it through this, it gives you a natural doorway into understanding astrology at a deeper level and a very simple level. So this is why I'm really excited about this offering because it's not just what is on it is what all Soar said, that makes sense. I have 5 Virgo placements in your chart. Oh yeah, yeah, because Virgo rules over health. Virgo rules over self-care. Yeah, yeah. And you're a Capricorn. So there's a great degree of being able to take things and practically apply them, with all that earth energy. Um, so I want to show y'all something. I'm gonna give you this is so when you sign up for this class, you're gonna get a little what my I'm calling my little miniature version of a syllabus and textbook because you're going to get this PDF that you'll be able to download. Let me find it. And basically, what it's going to do is it'll be our guide that we will use to walk through the class. My mother is a retired teacher, and I remember how she would sit up at nights working on lesson plans, right? So This is my syllabus, my lesson plan. It is my little mini textbook so that you know when you invest, this is not just going to be me rolling the dice like, let's talk about the moon. Y'all want to talk about Mercury? No, this is going to be, there's a lot of thought and planning has gone into this throughout the year 2025. There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Pandora, it is February 22nd, and that's a Sunday, and it's going to start at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm going to show you all just some of the things that are in this that you're going to get when you sign up. So I created these little slides. One of the things we're going to learn about are crosses in medical astrology. And in medical astrology, the crosses do not necessarily work the way they do in um, the way they do in typical astrological delineation. Okay. We use crosses in medical astrology to figure out where there's an emphasis in your chart. And it basically comes down to um, modality, as in cardinal, fixed, mutable, right? And we're going to, basic things we're going to learn is, let's say you got a cardinal cross. That means that you have the abundance of energy is in cardinal signs in your chart. And I'm going to show you how we actually calculate it. There's a way of calculating, your ascendant, you know, um, each planet, personal planets get a certain value, transpersonal get a certain value, and then your outer planets get a certain, and that's how you calculate and figure out where do you the greatest emphasis in your chart. If you got a cardinal cross emphasis, these are some of the things that will be you really need to focus on: kidneys, your head, the gallbladder, the stomach, the skin, the bones, eyes, and breasts. You know, and one of the things we'll also get into is explaining to you how why is it showing that? Is it not showing? Hold on. I'm not even sharing um my am I not even showing the thing? Hold on. Okay. Give me a second. Let me see if this shows up on the screen what I'm supposed to be sharing, the actual. Hmm, it's just slow. Okay. What are y'all seeing on your screen right now? Are y'all seeing um hold on, let me stop the share. Something I am doing wrong. Huh? Yeah, for real. Yep. Let me see. Let's see if it's showing now. All right. Okay. This is tripping. Let me see if I can share a document. No. Okay. Now bear with me. Medical astrology. I'm gonna move this over here and let's see if I can share it now. Give it its own. All right. Let's see if this works. Take this thing so long. The lag time between Zoom and YouTube is crazy. I should be showing. Are y'all seeing it yet? The okay. Now you should be able to see it. Okay. Somebody let me know. Can y'all see that? The Does it say cardinal cross emphasis? Okay, good, good. All right. Thank you. Okay. So as I was saying, so one of the things we'll go over, we'll look at cross emphasis. Now, just as a basic rule of thumb, and this is just something to keep in mind. If you ever get something you don't want, you don't want, like some type of disharmony going on within your vessel, some growth, something you don't want, okay? Typically, the way we've been conditioned, the first thing is someone gives us something additionally to address something that we've acquired that we don't want. Think common sense. If I have something I don't want, the first thing I need to do is look for what I need to get rid of. I'm going to tell you this for free without even taking this class. If you get something that you don't want, the first thing you should look to do is see where you can get rid of something. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Look what's highlighted under cardinal cross. If you have a cardinal cross emphasis, kidneys. Watch this. If you have a fixed cross emphasis, look what is highlighted. The eliminative organs. If you have a mutable cross emphasis, look what I have highlighted. The lymphatic system. So in other words, all of these, the common denominator is that all three of those deal with elimination, whether it deals with through the cardinal means, through fixed, or through mutable, you're dealing with elimination. So basic common sense stuff, right? And your chart acts as your roadmap for everything in this existence. How to restore your health, how to figure out what type of contract you're working through here, as in what type of things you are naturally here to navigate through. You know, identifying your superpowers, identifying your albatross, your weaknesses, everything is in your divine contract that you signed. And so the more time we can put in studying it, the more keys that are provided and the more gifts that are given relative to our dedication to studying and knowing thyself. So yeah. So I'll cut it. That covers that. It's a whole lot in this thing. I'm not gonna go through all this. I can't give away the sauce, but there's a lot that we're gonna get into in this. And that's why I set it up for 4 hours. Um, so so now we'll get into other thing. My medical astrology readings are available on my site. But in addition, my 2026 forecast reading is available on my site. Currently, it is 25% off. 720astrology.com. Also, hell, while I'm doing commercials, I might as well just bring everything to your attention that not only is 720 astrology active, but Circle of Life is now fully active. And Circle of Life is a total wellness business that we have now launched where we bring in all of our expertise to serve humanity. And it starts with a bioresonance scan. Let me show you the website, seven Circle of Life. Y'all bear with me. I know this is a long commercial, but I rarely promote myself. So I'm doing it today. Promote what I got going. Because if I don't make it known, it won't be known. This is our website, a new website, circle-of-life.com. And you go there, and this is for, I can't say things as bluntly as I would like to, but some things you would have to speak in private about for me to fully divulge just how powerful what we have is. But it is bioresonance scanning is the foundation of what we are offering, where we're using quantum mechanics to take a fingernail. We can take your fingernail and we can give you insight into your complete vessel. And the website just came down. But either way, I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to belabor on that. Circle-of-life.com. Just go and peruse the website about that later on. Anyway, in the future. Okay, let's get into this because I used up about 30 minutes and we gotta get rolling. So let's see. What date was that? It was January 3rd, 2026 at 2:01 a.m. according to what I found. US troops, special force, whatever, went in and arrested Nicolas Maduro, who was the president of Venezuela. And I just want to show some things. I do not have am I muted? Can y'all hear me? Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me? Okay. Hmm. Okay. All right. So let's go. We're gonna go and pull up some. Okay, thank you, Janelle. We're gonna go and pull up the chart for we got a lot of stuff to look at. First thing we'll look at is what was actually going on in the sky at that time. So where is his arrest? I thought I had that saved already. There we go. Yep, I got it. Okay. See if we can get this thing act right. All right. All right. B, you should be able to see this chart now for 2:01 a.m. January 3rd, 206 2:01 a.m. 2026. All right. Now, here's the main deal around this. And I don't have this thing. I don't have, I'm not going to come like I got a smoking gun type of thing. You can go and continue with your own due diligence with this. But what we have is a culminating moment here, the time of the arrest, because the sun, Venus, Mars are all in the grand conjunction. They're in a three-planet stellium, four-planet if you include Mercury, but they're in a three-planet conjunction that is part of a four-planet stellium in Capricorn. And they are in an opposition to the moon. The moon is in an applying phase to its full moon position. So we had the epitome of temperature rising, things coming to a head. But before I even go into that, because the actual uh the full moon I think was later that day. I gotta remember. But here here's what's significant. Look at the placement of the moon. It is at 10 degrees of Cancer. The moon was at 10 degrees of Cancer. The sun was at 12. Venus was at 12. Mars was at 14 of Capricorn. Keep that in mind. That's just our opening volley. Um, so the next thing we're going to do is um, I need to pull. I guess I'll pull all three of them at one time. No, no, no. I'm gonna do this first. We're gonna do the U.S. chart first. Hopefully, this will auto populate, but I'm gonna make sure so we ain't wasting time. You should now have the U.S. chart showing the U.S. Sibley chart. Now, astrologers debate on this about what's the correct chart. Um, but one thing that can give hmm, some semblance, at least for significance, is a moment like this, because this action that was taken at this moment was not by happenstance. If you go by the fact that in the Sibley chart, July 4th, 1776, 5:10 p.m., Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the U.S. sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer. Now think about this. I just said that the day of the arrest, the moon was at 10. So there was an applying conjunction to the US sun. So if we take this symbolically, what was happening? The moon was in a balsamic phase relative to the US sun. The word balsamic means to distill. So when the moon is in its last 45 degrees from 345 degrees of a complete circle to 359 degrees, that is the balsamic phase. You are distilling, you are getting the last essence, you're squeezing out what that moon had been through from its point of initiation, the previous new moon. So the US relative to the transiting moon was having a new moon moment as the moon in the transiting sky was approaching a full moon position. So this was a time of action, and the action was for what? For resurrection. Now we don't know. I don't claim to have all the, you know, my sources tell me, and I ain't got no sources, you know, but we're just reading based on the astrological traffic that this, what was a culminating point of the moon, actually served for the US chart as a new moon. So that was a critical moment, that time right there. And sidebar, it also had transiting Uranus, which it still is at 27 of Taurus. And is Uranus direct yet? Uranus is still retrograde. So we still have not seen what is to actually come out of this yet because Uranus is retrograde. When Uranus is direct at 27, and I don't think Uranus goes beyond 27. I think Uranus stations direct at 27. And Uranus will station direct. mm, February 3rd, the day after my birthday. Uranus will move direct. So February, what should be something to really pay attention to kind of see further what is coming out of this whole fiasco. Because what was happening was at that time of this arrest, retrograde Uranus at 27 of Taurus was in a square, still is in a square to the US moon at 27 of Aquarius. So here's the US moon, 27 of Aquarius. And then you have transiting Uranus at that moment at 27 of Taurus. And they are in a square to each other. Now, relative to their position, the moon would be considered to be in a last quarter square to Uranus because the moon is to the west of Uranus. So there's something um Dane Rudyard says the opening square is a crisis of action. The closing square is a crisis of understanding. So relative to their position where Uranus is oriental or east of the moon to the moon, that they're in a last quarter square relative to the moon. I like to take it and say that the opening square is a crisis of addition. The closing square is a crisis of subtraction. Because when the moon's in a closing square to whatever planet, it is declining. So when we're understanding, the crisis of understanding is a crisis to subtract and cut shit away so I can get to what the absolute value of things. We got to cut away things to get down to the brass tacks. And that moon is the receiver of the sun in Cancer. So for there to be new relationships formed for the US, Sun in Cancer in the seventh house of relationship, there had to be something that was suddenly torn away, some type of aggressive move that is born out of angst. Whenever, if you know anybody with aspects of the moon to Uranus, it creates a degree of angst. These are typically the people who cannot sit still. It is because internally their nervous system is like, and that can emotionally create a zing or a feeling of disruption at times. Okay. So there's this push that something's, I got to be doing something, I got to be moving. Right. So these are some of the things that are at play. And then the fact that when Uranus is direct and moves into Gemini, this is the nervous system of this country is being overloaded. See, this Uranus is moving through the sixth house of the US chart. So part of this angst was a feeling of um, something needs to be done for the self-preservation of whatever this thing posits itself to be or presents itself to be. Something has to be done. And Cancer, ruled by the moon, deals with nationality. Cancer rules over nativity, the mother, nation, nativity, NAT, womb, birthplace. So you scholars out here would have to go back and do your research. You need to look at progressions in the US chart. You need to look at what was going on um, when the progress moon, when the US has had its progress moon returns. So whenever it hit that 27 of Aquarius, you need to look at you know who Nicolas Maduro really is, who was really behind him. There's a lot of things if you really want to go beyond just the stuff you see online. People are like um, the emotional responses that just idiotic. But if you figure, well, how can this is this going to really impact my life potentially? Then you got to dig deeper to kind of understand what is the impetus behind this. Another thing to keep in mind is that the US Chiron is at 20 degrees of uh, Aries. And Chiron is currently like at 23, I think. So the US has recently had its Chiron return. And Chiron in Aries in the fourth house is a struggle to figure out the truth of who I am relative to the land mass occupied. There is a struggle to figure out who I am, the ultimate truth. Remember, don't always get stuck with Chiron at the wounded healer, as the wounded healer. Go deeper. What is the wound prodding one to figure out? Well, then you look at where the wound is. It's in Aries. And so that wound is pushing for a deeper truth. I want to know who I really am relative to what? The house that the sign is occupying, the fourth house. Who am I really as it relates to this landmass? Fourth house, nationality. So the theme of nationality is very prominent right now. If you know, you know. Hint, hint. So some people would suggest that part of the actions being taken are to actually, in an occult manner, to restore those who are the real nationals, the real children, the real possessors, the true inheritors of this land. So, something for everybody to ponder on their own. So, what I want to do now is let's show all these charts. So, what I'm going to do, just when I pull this next one up, it's going to be a lot. So, don't be overwhelmed if you're new to this stuff. It's going to look like um, a crazy schematic, but I'll explain what's what when I do it. So, I'm going to pull a three-wheel chart. And in the middle, I will have the US Sibley chart. In the next one, I will have the proclamation for independence for Venezuela. That's something I have not mentioned yet. Peace, everybody coming in. Peace, Chussie. Peace, Straight Panther. Peace, Soul, Granola. So in the outer wheel, this will be the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. All right. See if we can make sense of all this. So on the inside, again, this is the US chart. So I'll put US. The outside will be we're going to put POI. That is the Proclamation of Independence for Venezuela. And on the very outside, we have the transit chart for the time when Maduro was, or when it's said that he was arrested. Now, what I've done is this is the book of world horoscopes. Okay. This is a good resource to have by Nicholas Campion. Uh, I guess at this point I should give you my cash app for this, for the generosity of giving you books and stuff. sign the Gnosis 77. Sign the Gnosis 77. Okay. But here is so what he shows in here is he shows when hmm, he had few dates in here. Don't tell me I didn't mark this page. Okay, there it is. So he says there was an independent movement that began in Venezuela and the other Spanish American colonies following the conquest of Spain by the French under Napoleon. Okay, so I'm just going to cut to the chase. Basically, the chart that I'm using is for July 5th, 1811. True independence was proclaimed on the 5th of July, 1811 in Caracas, and chart 385 is set for this time. Of course, we don't have an accurate time, so I set this for noon. But there are other charts and times, but I'm using the one that he is saying is the true independence proclamation. Now, for that chart for Venezuela, the middle chart, the sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer. Because you notice July 5th, one day after July 4th for the US. And so the US chart, I circled that wrong. In the middle is the U, in the inside is the US. Outside here is Venezuela because their sun is at 12 degrees of, hold on, wrong. Yeah, yeah, their sun is at 12. That doesn't make sense. The US should be at inner. Okay, Venezuela's at 12, US at 13. See, they're right around the same date. For something I got wrong because it should be you would be ahead of theirs. But either way, their suns are falling around within 1 degree of each other. That's for damn sure. Okay. Then you see on the day of the arrest, the transiting moon right here is at 10 degrees of Cancer. So all these line up. Is this just by happenstance? So if anybody wonders if governments use astrology, here's evidence. Now, across from that in the transiting sky, Venus, the sun, and Mars, all opposing the US sun, the Venezuelan sun, and the transiting moon. So you see what I was saying? You got several things wrapped up in one. A culminating point for the US relationship with Venezuela. At the same time, a new start for the US relationship with Venezuela. In other words, that was theater. Something new is being initiated. Something old was closed out. It came to a point of culmination, and something new was being initiated to save or preserve something around this institution, this corporation that is occupying this landmass that we call America. Now, some things I need to point out in addition to this is that I know it's because that's been so long since I looked over these notes. So I talked about new relationship that impacts nationality. All right. Uh, Also impacting finances because the U.S. second house is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn here in the US chart is at 14 of Libra. So the events that occurred on January 3rd, in combination with the US natal chart, created a T square. That's if we're only dealing with planets. If we're dealing with Chiron, then we have a grand cross. Either way, T square, if we're doing with the T square, then the culminating area would be the fourth house because that's the area that is not involved in the T square. If we include Chiron, then one of the driving factors in this is, like I said earlier, a search for the truth of identity as it applies to nationality, as it applies to the land, as it applies to the real ownership. Now, if we go back to medical astrology, then I said, when I get that little snippet, I said, if you have an emphasis in cardinal signs, then you must look for, first look at kidneys, because the place that is going to have the typically the greatest emphasis will be what part of that um triplicity. I always get them mixed up. If triplicity or it would be quadruplicity. What part of that would be the greatest focus? It would be the kidneys. Mhm. And kidneys are ruled by what? Venus. And here we have relationship. And so the kidneys help to regulate and balance. And so part of what it does to regulate is it helps to excretes, eliminates. So here we had some type of relationship that needed Venus, that needed to be balanced, meaning something had to get pushed out to help balance the scales. Now, what is all the gamemanship going on behind the scenes? I don't damn know because I'm not part of these groups. But what we're doing is just looking at astrologically. Something needed to be excreted. Um, grand, including, okay. Now here's the other thing that really, one of the things in the news that kept being mentioned is oil. You gotta wonder, is oil a red herring? You know? And it's also interesting that Maduro has somewhat of a likeness to Saddam Hussein. Isn't that interesting? But let's go with the oil thing. And let's look at the fact that I got to find how I found this in here. I got to go back and relook at this so I can remember how I even found it. So bear with me. I got to find this aspect. It is Neptune and Uranus. Where they at? Transiting. There it is. There it is. If you take the US Uranus, it is opposite Venezuela's Neptune. Now, this is where you got to study a little bit of astro history as far as studying the history of aspects, studying history along with planetary aspects that were forming with outer planets at certain key points in history. Why is this opposition significant? It's because the opposition between the US, Uranus, remember the inner chart is the US, the middle chart is the point of the proclamation of independence for Venezuela. Those two have Uranus and Neptune opposing each other. The significance is that Uranus and Neptune have a 172-year cycle. They were conjunct in 1821. Okay. 1820. All right. And it's acting up. Let's try this again. Everything's lagging. Like it's okay. They were conjunct in 1821. So by around 1905, they were in an opposition to each other. Now, I want you to think about the world in 1905. And I want you to think about the two planets that are involved. We're talking about Neptune and we're talking about Uranus. Both of those planets kind of deal with kind of an alien energy. Neptune is energy that is outside of this three-dimensional realm. So it's alien to the 3D. Uranus is alien as in it is alien to humanity, as in it is technology. It is cold. It does not have soul. So those two merged in 1821. They opposed each other in 1905. So when you have that, you have this cold, calculated energy that is alien to humanity, opposite a fusing, intuitive, magical, ethereal energy, which is Neptune. So if someone were looking to be diabolical at that time, they could bring in their own consciousness that they want to imbue the planet with through the opposition of those two planets. Well, 1905 is Ellis Island is rocking in 1905. Give us your tired, you're poor, you're whatever, right? Everybody's coming over. But it's almost taken almost over 100 years to understand possibly why. That maybe people were being brought to denationalize those who already were heirs to the land. Possibly. Then we have the robber barons who are kicking hard now. This is the Standard Oil, JP Morgan, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, right? Um, this is when um oil, this is also the rise of Henry Ford, right? All around this time. This is where what's the company? Oh man. It's on the tip of my tongue. Not Michelin. Goodyear. They have basically gone and they have cornered the market on rubber trees, right? And so rubber becomes the new thing because everything you got to have oil, you got to have rubber for tires. Everything is being set up. This is also around the time where we have the General Board of Education, John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, who are set out on a mission to colonize education and to decide what and why a child knows. Because children needed to have basic arithmetic, basic rudimentary knowledge so that they could work in factories to drive the industrial forces that were being unleashed in the new 20th century. This is when Aleister Crowley is kicking hard. All of this stuff is happening in this window around the time where Uranus and Neptune are opposite each other. So then, what Jamal is suggesting is because Venezuela has that aspect to the US chart, then possibly Venezuela takes on some of those archetypes in its relationship with the US. And just as much as oil may be a big thing, the reason I mentioned Crawley is because we know that there were the occult, hidden, symbolic arrangements were just as prominent, and that the outer things that we see possibly were just acting on the inner things. So, what possible inner thing could there be? Well, there's so much mention of oil. If you think symbolically that oil is the blood of the earth, or one of them, or one facet of the blood of the earth, and that possibly water is the other. And if you think about our blood, hemoglobin, plasma, oil, water. At the time, in the transiting sky of the arrest, Mars is part of three planet conjunction. Mars rules over iron. God damn it. Shit, Mars rules over iron. I just see Mars rules over iron. Iron, hemoglobin. The moon is involved. Moon rules over Cancer, and Cancer rules over plasma. So here's Hema and plasma. Those two are in opposition at this time. And the relationship between them is under stress. There is inflammation, great inflammation with the sun and Mars conjunct. So there's an inflammatory nature in the blood at this time. So is it a code? The fact that oil has been put so much on the front Front Street. Now that I would have to do more research. Now I've heard people say things about um dragons in Venezuela. I can't confirm or deny. I don't know. That this is the dragon's head, this is the whatever, things that I don't know. What I am interested in is updated literature on ley lines in the US or America and the rest of the world. Now, there's a book came out years ago by David Hatcher Childress, um, and it's one of the few that I've got the book, but it did not give what I was looking for. So, put in the comments if you have found anything that is viable, not just somebody speculating, but a scholarly attempt at breaking down ley lines, because that is be a great tool and reference for this moment in time. But using our astro metaphysical common sense, there's something here between these two. There's something around blood as it connects with oil and water. Now, something I did not know is that in Channelview, like down in like that's like close to Houston, I think. I didn't know that on the 30th of December, my man Dap had sent me this on Instagram. I didn't even know. I don't remember this being mentioned about this huge spill of like acid in the water down there. Now, Mars rules over acids. And here, as the moon was in its approaching full on the 30th, so the moon was still waxing. So this was a building moment. Here we have all this acid dumped in the water. So we see the archetypes kind of play out in that manner. So we'll have to wait and see and keep our eyes open about what are all the different dots that are connecting and what is the real chess pieces that are being moved around this. And we do know that things happen on multiple levels. So, what else did I want to mention on this? Here's one thing I want to. So, okay, Jamal, what's the absolute value of all of this? Because it's like you're saying you this could possibly be this, and we'll have to wait and see. What does it mean for you and I as we're moving forward? I want to say this. They are building hospitals in Texas, multi-billion dollar. There are partnerships that have aligned between prominent, huge medical hospitals, um, medical university, um, like for example, Texas Western, prominent medical university training, medical training, right? Partnering with a very prominent children's hospital here, expanding the number of beds in Dallas. About 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, the new Parkland opened, multi-billion dollar, huge facility. Fort Worth, expanding Cook's Children Hospital. So this is what you got to understand. The medical profession is a business, and you don't go and spend that type of bread unless there's a projection of sickness. Now, if Mars is opposite the moon, it makes the blood inflammatory. It makes the blood acidic. We literally had a few days earlier, we had acid dumped into waterways down by Houston, Channelview. I'm thinking Channelview is by Houston. So, independent of Maduro and whatever that may be, can we glean from that that maybe it's giving us warning signs just for us just to manage in day to day? Also keeping in mind that these new guidelines are coming out around vaccinations. Certain things are not included and certain it's like, hmm. So you got to think now beyond the immediacy of what we see and how we see things to think about the ultimate possibilities. We waxed so poetic about the age of Aquarius. And if we're going to be honest, we thought we were going to be flying with cherubims and running around, playing harps and shit and floating and walking through walls and meditating on lotuses and shit. But the reality is that the Aquarian age represents a harsh freedom. And if you think about it, freedom can feel very, very difficult, almost to the point where you don't think you're going to make it. The process of freeing something is life threatening, i.e., childbirth. The baby is being freed from the captivity of the mother's womb. One way you say it's nurture, on the other side is captivity. It's being freed and it's violent. What does freedom look like? What does sovereignty look like when you actually are being given the ability to self-regulate? Maybe this is what it looks like. It looks like chaos. And if they're pulling back, what we may do is forget how terrible things have been and almost like Stockholm syndrome, it's like, no, no, take me back in. No, bring me back into prison because you become institutionalized so that the things you've been wanting, the freedom, the ability to write things, it comes, but it doesn't come in the package you expect. So you're lamenting. Schools are closing wholesale down here in Texas. Well, giving us the freedom to actually think about how do I want my child to actually be taught and learn? Certain vaccine protocols being readjusted, pulled back. Well, maybe I need to reimagine the health for my seeds. People mysteriously dropping off. Every other day you hearing about this person, that person. It's like, hmm. And the dots not being connected to maybe certain decisions they made 4 or 5, 3, 4 or 5 years ago. But the pain that comes along with freedom can make you not want the freedom. You know how many times I've thought about, God, if I just would have just stayed on a job these past 15 years and just suck it up and just take it and just then my wife had to remind me, this is the price of freedom. You don't want that. You don't want to have to sit and have small talk with people you can't stand and have to be around, people you can't stand to be around day in and day out, 5 days a week. This is the price of freedom. So, how this ties into this presentation today is that all this energy in Capricorn is eventually going to move into Aquarius, the ultimate sign of freedom, the ultimate sign of tomorrow, the ultimate sign of innovation, the sign of the people, and also the sign where Pluto is. We're being forced to re-understand what freedom is and where freedom begins, which is where it begins is right here in the mind. And possibly some of the things that are working are supporting that, even if they are not intending directly to support that, even if things are being done out of a degree of angst, you know, but that still does not negate the fact that energy is energy. Energy is going to be used by who chooses to and how to use it. So I'm all over the place, but oh, Faye, what's peace, Faye? Faye said blood, plasma, Psalms equal Kabbalah equals magic. Mm, yeah, it's good to keep your old Psalm book. I don't know where mine is over here somewhere. That but that's right on point. Straight Panther said freedom as a responsibility. That's right. And Capricorn, I'm glad you thank you. Capricorn is a sign of responsibility. And never forget when you first learn astrology, we learn the keywords. Aries, I am. Taurus, I have. Gemini, I think. Cancer, I feel. And by the time you get around to Capricorn, I take. Now that one threw me when I first was like, I take. But if you think about it, for Cancer is an expansive, growing energy, right? And Capricorn is an energy of taking. And taking, if the earth, think about this from the standpoint of the earth. If the earth does not pull back and withdraw, there will be nothing left for the new seed to form, Aries. So Capricorn is a sign of taking back, retrieving, reclaiming. So that aspect we were looking at, that full moon with the sun, Mars, Venus, and Capricorn, opposite the moon Cancer, was a standoff between reclaiming and expansion. But the way it was set up for to take back, right? Capricorn, but also to plant a new seed to grow because the transiting moon was in a conjunction with the US sun, which formed a new moon. So if you take that and apply it to your own existence, Source said Capricorns are very responsible. Yes, they are. Because they want to take what is theirs. Capricorn is like the ibex goat. It climbs up that mountain. It's almost impossible to go to the salt mines. And so they are masters of climbing impossible um, elevations so that they can claim what is theirs. Because what is theirs is at the top of that mountain. And possibly thinking from the lens of a magician and all of this stuff, be thinking about what is yours to claim. And as my broken record has been going, endurance, dedication, Saturn requires those, and Saturn rewards mightily when we display those. And we need to be looking towards Aquarius. This is going to be one hell of an Aquarius season and one hell of a Pisces season because Pisces kicks off with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. But before that, we get a stellium in Aquarius with the Sun, Pluto, Mars, Mercury. I mean, I think it's a five planet stellium when I looked at it, which says that the future is now. All right. So that's all I got. A reminder, my medical astrology course will be on um, February 20th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 4 hours. I'm only taking 15 people. That's the max. It's not a gimmick. It's really all I can do because I want to be able to answer questions. So, first 15 people get in. After 15 people get in, I'm going to take it down. It won't be available until the next time that I do it. Um, what else? Circle-of-life.com. If you are dealing with anything physically, um, dealing with your total wellness, you definitely need to go and visit circle-of-life.com. We take a fingernail sample and we have software where I don't know if I can get to this and get it in the camera. I can't get to it. We have a little, I take your sample. Oh, I can't get the camera down here. And I have a little black box that is connected to a machine. I can scan your entire vessel with a fingernail because your fingernail is quantumly entangled to your vessel. And we do it live. So wherever you are in the world, we sit down, we do it live by Zoom, and you see me going through every part, or you see the machine going through every part of your vessel and scanning and um, assessing the frequencies coming that it is emitting because it is shining light, laser light into your vessel through your fingernail. So this is real application. We've gone from speculation to application. I am not experimenting. This is what I have done. This is what we are doing. Um, so there'll be more about that, but go visit circle-of-life.com. Yes, fingernail, for real, for real. You'll be a believer. You see it work. You will be a believer. Be amazed about like this is real, delving into locked up emotions, telling you which crystals best align with your vessel, not by speculation, but based on literally frequency calculations based on you, vitamin deficiencies, what foods best line up with nah, no fake nail. It's gotta be your nail. Your nail, your cause here's the deal. When you if for anybody who think this is some bullshit, when you are in your mother's womb for 9 months, you are quantumly entangled with her for the rest of your life, which is why sometimes your mother can call you out the blue and it's like, damn, and like everything all right with you? Something just told me to call you, blah, 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 blah. That is because you're quantumly entangled. So if anything has ever shared space with your vessel, it is the equivalent of you coming out of that womb. So that thing is always connected to you. So you get Michael Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe, any of these other 10 million quantum physics books, we learn about something called non-locality and quantum entanglement. Non-locality is the reason that astrology works. How can a planet be light years away and have anything to do with my life? Because of non-locality. It doesn't matter that it's 10 million miles away. There is no such thing as time and space in the quantum. So um and so your nail doesn't matter if you're in Germany and I'm in Texas. It's quantum entangled. And it's always measuring what is going on with your entire vessel. So we take the nails and we keep them on a little, have these little discs that we have them on. We put it inside the box and you read it in real time. You'll know if it's some bullshit because it's right there, you know. Um, and so that's what we got going on. So go to 720astrology.com, get ready for the class. It's first come, first serve, first 15. When you sign up, you're gonna get that your syllabus is gonna come right to your email. If you don't get it, check your junk mail. All right. And my medical astrology readings, 2026 forecast readings, they're also available at 720astrology.com. 25% off of my 2026 forecast reading until 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, January 15th, and circle-of-life.com. You'll be hearing about more about that coming later. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, know the stars to know yourself and stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down.